So what do you have on your property to provide forage during the late season when your food plots or your crop fields have failed? This next video is going to address that. It takes a little bit of elbow grease, a little bit of grrr, but we're going to get food on the ground for the deer for the remainder of hunting season. So today is just a few days removed from Missouri firearm season. It is just a few days past Thanksgiving. It's one of the last few days of November. So archery season in Missouri is still, we still basically have a month and a half left. But if you haven't figured it out by now, we're kind of habitat nerds at Land&LEGACY. And so even though it's hunting season, today we're taking some time to improve some habitat. It's a spot on the family farm that's been neglected due to lack of time. But we're going to fix that today. So we came down here with the original intent to hunt, but conditions were a little bit windier and warmer than we like, and we checked one of our spots close to the road, pretty close to where we want to hunt, and the wind was way too swirly. So it's time to improve habitat. So what we have is a long skinny food plot. Fortunately over the years it's been plowed and disked, and we've done a lot of really bad practices, but we've changed those in the last 6 years, doing strictly no-till drill and spraying, planting, rolling type methods. Then we had a horrible drought this year, but we still have a lot of nice stuff growing. It's just young, it hadn't had a lot of rainfall and a chance to grow. And we had a really early frost. Lots of excuses, but that's just the conditions we had. One thing that we're facing is lack of sunlight and nutrients being robbed due to trees around the food plot. So today we're going to do some edge feathering and some heavy TSI around this plot, open up some sunlight, let some native grasses and forbs grow, release some nice trees that we have, some white oaks along the edge. But that's the plan. And so it's one of those things. Habitat's more important than hunting. Hunting can be great, but if your habitat's not great, the hunting's going to suck. So we are improving habitat by removing unwanted species around our food plots. Another incredible thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting woody browse within reach of the deer. So we have a lot of persimmons, dogwoods, various oaks, some other softwood trees growing around the edge of the plot from here to the crest of the hill that aren't doing really anything for the wildlife. We need to get that vegetation back down. It's getting a little bit out of control, so the fire's not setting it back either. So we're going to put it on the ground, improve the cover, but also put some food on the ground. So guys that are sitting around going, man, my food plots aren't great, I don't know what I can do to provide food other than dumping a bag of corn or rice bran or dropping carrots in a pile or apples. This is a great way. Heavy TSI, edge feathering, any way you can put woody browse down within reach of the deer. You're not only improving the food available, but also improving the cover for years to come. So this is one of the species that we hope to enhance through all this by getting more sunlight. This is greenbrier or smilac. It's growing all up through here, but down here at the ground there's not a whole lot of leaves. Looks like the deer have already eaten them, but if we can get more sunlight, we're going to get more growth out of that, which is more food for the deer, more cover, all the great things. Even for small game, better cover. So if you look at the edge of the food plot, we have a lot of these eastern red cedars. And just, of course, as you guys know from hearing the podcast, we're not huge fans of having great big thickets of eastern red cedar. A few scattered here and there is fine. These are much too big to provide any kind of benefit, especially if you compare it to diverse natives like we have with eastern gamma grass right here, growing at the edge of the food plot. So our plan is to open it up, cut these cedars, cut the dogwoods, get a lot more food on the ground. But overall, more cover around the edge of a food plot. We'll get more production out of our food plot because it's these young annuals that we're planting, the wheat, oat, brassicas, things like that, aren't competing for nutrients with the taller trees that are going to beat them hands down every year. So giving more sunlight so we have more growth out of our food plot. We have more cover around the food plot, therefore deer are moving in daylight because they're more comfortable being in a smaller food plot this close to cover. So it all ties into one big thing, and it's overall better habitat. So that's what we're doing today. Even though it's hunting season, once again, habitat is more important than hunting in our opinion, and so that's what we're going to be doing. Feels good to be back doing habitat work. I love hunting season, but man, I kind of miss running a chainsaw and doing our part to improve the habitat. We've seen a few more quail on the property this fall so far, and we're never gonna be having coveys flourishing in closed canopy hardwoods. So doing all this edge feathering, getting this amount of cover and annuals and a lot more disturbance around is going to be hopefully what can allow us to hold more quail, produce more quail, and have more deer, bigger deer, all the wonderful stuff. Getting down here at deer level now. You can see a good ways back through here, and the only places where there's actual vegetation growing that's providing any kind of cover is where there's sunlight. I can see some river oats about 40 yards through this little patch of younger trees, younger saplings. So just by getting more sunlight, we're going to have more growth down here where the deer's at, quail's at, rabbits at, turkeys nesting at, and that's the overall goal. So this is going to really change this food plot just with a couple hours of Chad and I running a chainsaw. So recently, Chad and I came out with chainsaws and did a little edge feathering and TSI around one of the food plots on the family farm we call Old Orchard. It's a little small, narrow strip of a food plot, but it was unmanaged all around it. It's kind of been neglected over the years, as I said in previous clips. So this is an after. Now we worked till dark, so there wasn't a chance to do an after shot with the camera. So this is kind of a look at it now, and it's been maybe 2 weeks since we did it. A lot more deer activity. I'm gonna go pull a card, see if there's any pictures I can include in this video, but major difference. So I'm not sure if you saw it earlier, but those trees back there right along the edge of the bluff or of the terrain change start sloping down in the valley, but now you can actually see those trees. Before, these cedars were really blocking it. Cedars really haven't started turning yet because it's so new, the cutting, but there's a major change that's occurred, and it's just something that's very exciting. I just jumped some quail. I just jumped some quail on the other side of the farm, and that's really a big part of our management here, is not necessarily focused on deer, focused more on quail. And because of that, the deer are going to definitely benefit. Well, here's a little bit of a look. I'm standing next to a sassafras that fell down in the food plot, and you're going to see some major browse pressure. So we've got browse on every one of these little buds that has formed already. So one more way to put food on the ground this time of year. We talk a lot about deer, but we're doing this for turkeys too. We've got better nesting right here around the food plot. So lo and behold, we knew there were some turkeys in the area, but we've got a turkey feather. Now I step down here, and you can kind of tell on the camera, but we've got turkey scratchings all around through here. So turkeys have kind of came in here now that it's been opened up, and they're scratching around looking for a few more acorns. But during the spring, we're going to have a great strut area right next to an area that'll be great nesting. So hens, a little bit later in the season, as they kind of do their thing, and then they go to the nest mid-morning, or even later in the season, they just go into their nest. And this is still a great spot. So 2 attractions with a little bitty area. We've got better nesting, so the hens will be around here, and then we're going to have better strut areas because of the improved food plot. So as we put it into more of perennial clovers, mixed alfalfa, we'll have tons of bugs, great strut zone, tons of forage, but then also the additional benefits of the improved habitat. So a lot of great things going on here that we will continue on other parts of the farm. This is just one of our many projects that we have going on, and hopefully you guys will fire up the chainsaws this winter, preferably now till March, before spring green up starts happening. And I think if you've listened to the podcast, you know how much we love about TSI, edge feathering. So much talk about that it's just one of those things that we become more and more believers almost every time we do it. Every time we fire up the chainsaws and we see how much the wildlife draw to it or attracted to it, it's like, man, we should have been doing this more and more a long time ago. And we've been doing it over the years, but we're getting to where now it's almost more time is spent doing projects like edge feathering, timber stand improvement, adding bedding thickets through temporary forest openings. A lot of things are occurring that frankly don't involve food plots, and we still do our food plots, but this kind of stuff right here, this is long felt. This will be improved for many, many years.